to the 5 takeaways, 5 things we can learn from the game, and we'll start off with all action Gio, and this is revolving Giovanni Lo Celso. And you know, Lo Celso got a lot of praise yesterday for his on-the-ball abilities. We saw how much quality he got. He had 3 out of 3 dribbles completed, 2 key passes, 2 assists, completed 2 out of 2 long passes as well. But I don't think he gets enough praise for how much he was doing off the ball as well. He won 11 of his 14 ground duels, which is more than anyone else on the pitch. He completed 1 interception and 4 tackles, which is more than any other midfielder as well on the pitch as well. So showing both sides to his game there, Giovanni Lo Celso. And when he's in that kind of form, that's what really can separate him from the other midfielders.
Yeah, absolutely. 4 of those tackles, all 4 of them were slide along the ground with both of his knees, I think, probably. But yeah, I'll continue to say about Lo Celso. If he stays fit, gets on the pitch, and is able to play at his top level like that, then, you know, we are very lucky to have him. It's just that we haven't seen enough of it. But yeah, yesterday specifically, really impressive performance, worthy of all of our credit that he gets. And yeah, I want to see him kind of being happy to be one of 6 or 7 central midfield options that we have, so that we can pick on form and fitness, and not just because we've only got those options. That is something that we haven't really been able to have this season so far. But if we get to that and Ange is able to bring in the players that he wants, I think Lo Celso will be one of those options. And, you know, Ange only ever speaks well of him. It was a very impressive performance, and we're really starting to see now why Messi loves him so much, why he's so vital to that Argentinian side. He was obviously out for the World Cup, which was unfortunate for him, but they love him in the national team. And I love him when he's playing like that too. And we've got this lovely little nucleus of South American players now who all like to hang out with each other, obviously. And that can really help morale as well. So I think at the moment, if any of you out there are wondering whether we should keep him or not, I'm not wondering. I think we absolutely should.
All right, next takeaway is transition Spurs. And this is, I felt like yesterday, Spurs winning a game of football in a different kind of way to maybe how we've got a lot of our wins this season. Actually, when we in the first half, we dominated possession in terms of the stats. We had 56% possession in the first half, but we did struggle to really create many chances, only 0.35 XG. In fact, some of our better chances did come in the transition. I remember one from Heung-min Son on the breakaway, which obviously his shot was only straight at the keeper. The goal we scored was obviously an interception from a pass from the goalkeeper as well. But the second half, we did generate 1.79 XG in that second half with only 44% possession, and a lot of our chances again coming on the counter-attack, springing on Bournemouth, which is definitely a different kind of side to Spurs, I feel, in terms of being effective on the counter like we were yesterday than maybe a lot of our performances this season. So it's good that we in these kind of games where a really informed Bournemouth side were dominating possession, but we found a different way to win.
Yeah, important to have different strings to your bow. And as I've mentioned, obviously they have been coached in playing transitional counter-attack football for a couple of years before Ange was there with Antonio Conte. So it won't be that they won't know how to do it, won't remember how to do it. I'm not so sure that I think Ange will have said at halftime, play more in that way and you'll have more success, because I think that's not very Angie. I think it's more maybe to do with the fact that Bournemouth dropped off after 60 minutes a little bit, and also it seemed like he did change it into like a 4-2-3-1 with Pierre and Skippy playing in the kind of 2 defensive central midfielder roles, and that suited them a bit better, which allowed us to win the ball a bit better and get the ball to our forward players a little easier. So yes, I agree. I think a lot of it really probably in terms of our transitional success, though, also came from the fact that we had a team come at us who were always looking to attack. And therefore, we were not really, in the way they were pressing us, meant we weren't able to kind of keep possession for an elongated amount of time. It always felt like we were losing the ball relatively quickly. But yeah, look, we did what it took. We played well on the transition. Whatever way we can get the 3 points at the moment until we're getting our players back, I think is great for us.
Okay, third takeaway is Bentancur's surprise return, and it's incredible to think that it was only on the 26th of November against Aston Villa where he picked up an injury which was set to rule him out for 2.5 months, but unbelievably was back in the starting 11 on the weekend. Unbelievable that he was able to make such a quick return. In terms of how he played and what the stats say. He did make 5 clearances, 1 tackle, 1 interception, only won 1 of his 5 ground duels, and only completed 77% of his passes. So wasn't like the best vintage Bentancur performance. It only lasted an hour as well, and definitely didn't look 100%. But considering he was back so soon after that injury, and considering we got all these midfielders out for January as well, it's definitely a positive return. And there definitely were positives. Obviously, his interception, the one interception we're talking about, which led to our first goal, was absolutely crucial to getting the ball rolling. So definitely signs of him getting back to something near his best, but clearly wasn't 100% in this one, was he?
No, wasn't 100%. You wouldn't expect him to be. He's ahead of schedule, and it's fantastic news. He'd been training all week apparently, and that's so cool that was happening, but also that we'd kind of not heard about it, because for me that means who else might be training that we're not going to be hearing about? Our players going to be able to come back a bit earlier than we're expecting. We're all hearing that maybe Maddison might be the end of the month or Van der Ven the middle of the month, but are there things happening behind closed doors that are speeding up the process? Look, the most important thing for me with Bentancur was A, that he got on the pitch, and B, that he didn't pick up another knock. So that will put some confidence into him, because let's not forget, it's not just the Matty Cash injury that he had. It was an ACL before that, and he'd only come back for like 20, 25 minutes. He really hadn't played a lot of football, and so it's going to take him a really long time to get up to proper match fitness. So 60 minutes on his first return after a month or so, and a secondary return after the ACL, incredibly impressive, and I think shows the strength of the man.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. I just don't know how he's made this return so quickly, but absolutely incredible stuff from Bentancur. Next takeaway is Emerson fills in, and look, for me, Emerson obviously has been filling in at centre-back for the past couple of games since Romero picked up that injury. I thought he had a bit of a disaster, in my opinion, at Brighton, but obviously Barnaby doesn't feel the same way. But I felt in this game he was a lot stronger. I felt, for me, he was a lot more accomplished. I thought we had a lot better game. In terms of the stats that read for him, 4 out of his 6 ground duels won, 5 out of 9 aerial duels won, 4 of his 7 long passes were completed, and one of those was obviously a really brilliant pass for Brennan Johnson, which up the 3rd goal, 1 tackle and 2 interceptions. And I did think he was a lot more calm. I thought he was a lot more composed in this one. Look, Solanke was giving me a rough ride at some times, but I thought in general much better from Emerson Royale.
Yeah, I thought he played well. He's a trier. He's a good guy, and I gave him a markup just for that pass alone that set up the goal. Kind of, I guess you'd call it the pre-assist. It was a brave pass to take on down the line, and he executed it perfectly. Look, he's never ever going to be a 9 out of 10 player. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I just don't think he's kind of really elite level. But does he give you 100% every time? Yes. Is he a competent player? Absolutely. And we've seen it in interviews. Big Ange Postecoglou has said, sometimes I am much more comfortable picking players who maybe don't have the natural talent, but are not going to give you any problems personality-wise. And personality-wise, he's an excellent squad man, I think, Emerson Royale. And yeah, I agree with you, Tim. I think he played well yesterday. He's being asked to do something that is not his natural game. And therefore, when he puts in a performance like that, we have to give him all the credit we possibly can. And, I would never say about Emerson Royale, I think we should sell him, because I think you need players who are versatile and who work hard and put the team first. And players like him and Ben Davis are perfect examples of that. So even though he may not be the top level right back or centre back that we feel like we're going to need pushing on, I still would say he's likely to be at Spurs for a good while yet. And I'm happy with that.
And the last takeaway is in the thick of it, and this is towards our league table at the moment, our position in the league table. We're currently 5th on 39 points, but currently, at the time of filming, 3 points off the top of the league. Liverpool, who are on 42. It could be 6 by the end of the day. But look, Aston Villa seem to be running out of steam at the moment. Arsenal have only won 1 in their last 5 games. But so to have Tottenham with this result, beating an informed Bournemouth side off the back of also beating an informed Everton side, are we putting ourselves in and amongst it when it comes to talk for the title?
Look, I don't know. I'm wary of talking about the title, but if we get to the end of January and we've got a whole squad to choose from, and we're within 4, 5, 6 points of top spot at that point, it could be really interesting, because also I don't think we actually play anyone above us until kind of March. I think it's something like that. Obviously, we've got Old Trafford away next. That's going to be difficult. but they are dross, Manchester United, and they could easily throw in a terrible performance. It just so happens, though, that they actually seem to usually raise their game against Spurs at home. We don't have a great record there, but we could get a result there, especially if we get a new signing at centre back in and maybe Van der Ven back. Then that could change things a lot. But for me, I'm more looking at the end of January. Can we try and pick up three or 4 points out of the 2 Premier League games in January? If we could get 6, that would be unbelievable. But if we got 3 or 4 points, I'd be happy with that, because that would mean, I think, by the end of January, when those players are back, when I really think we can start getting on a real run again, it would be incredibly exciting. Nobody I have seen in the Premier League is better than us at the moment, like when we've got our full team. Man City, obviously, when they get De Bruyne back and Haaland back, and if they really click into gear, that's a different thing altogether. But we will give everyone a game. Nobody is better than us, and we are one of the teams who's capable of going on a huge run. So that's why I'm talking about the end of January. So I wouldn't rule anything out, but for me, it's just about, let's see how the next month goes.
Obviously, at the beginning of the season, even just something as simple as finishing above Arsenal seemed like a bit of a pipe dream, but only 1 point behind them now, going into the second half of the season, which is incredible to think about, considering some of the issues and injuries we've had. So you reckon there's a good chance we can finish above them this year?
I think Arsenal are good, I have to say. I think Arsenal, they're on a bad run at the moment, and their fans are starting to lose a bit of faith, which is really important, actually, because there's been a bit of a kind of resurgence of the fans and the club kind of being in support of one another over the last 2 seasons. If that can crack apart, then that could easily see them fall off on the pitch as well a little bit. But they are good, and they've spent a lot of money on Declan Rice, and he is a terrific player. If they were to get Ivan Toney in, which is being talked about, that could be problematic because he would be a great striker for them. But what I'd also say is they had to make David Raya a loan deal because of FFP. So I'm not sure where they're going to find 60 million quid to get Ivan Toney before the end of this season. So in answer to your question, I've kind of tumbled around that question a little bit. I'm not sure that I'm overly confident that we'll finish above them, but boy, is it hilarious at the moment, and it could happen because the way that they're kind of falling apart, and they're not scoring a lot of goals from their 3 up top, and that's where a lot of their success came last season, especially through Saka and Martinelli. So long may that continue. Look, yeah, we definitely could finish above them, but it's not something that I'm currently looking at as, okay, that's really likely or that's what's most important. I think for me, what's most important is if we can get to the end of January and we're in a similar situation, then we could get above everybody. Like we could get on a run where we could get above everybody, bar maybe Man City, but we'll see.
All right, that is it for the 5 takeaways. Let me know in the comments section below any of the takeaways you had for the game and anything we missed out.